it was really fun. I mean, that was one of the funnest groups I've ever worked with. And when he sold, he was so stressed out. He ended up going into the hospital. He had more money than he could have ever imagined, as much as he could when he was 50 probably, or even 40. But dude, like, it's pretty amazing. So yeah. So at what point, and I look at Moses was 80 years old when he finally came into his real calling. They remove they put a shunt in one side of your eyeball and a shunt in the other, and they remove all the vitreous fluid, and then they put a gas bubble in, and then guess what? You get to look down at the floor for 5 days. For some people I've had, like Reebok's founder, his wife, I was talking to her, she had this happen, and she was down for like 3 weeks like that.
On top of my salary. And not any fault of his own, he had to end up closing shop due to his clients who screwed him over. And I just remember going through all of that, and I was not happy. I mean, this is,
Right. He keeps pressing me, and finally I just said, listen, I caught my partner embezzling money. And I was so embarrassed. He goes, oh, you too?
You too.
They're like, that's what.
So today I'm joined by Gary Frey. Gary's someone leaders call when things get complex, stuck, or quietly breaking. Not for hype, not for noise, for clarity. If this is your first time here, this is Vibe Your Vibe. Every voice has a frequency. This show is for people who love what they do and for the rare few who do it because they have to. And I think Gary's one of those guys. Gary describes himself as a MacGyver for CEOs. He helps leaders save money, make money, stay out of trouble, and actually enjoy the process. That's important. Today, I just kind of want to focus on what that looks like in practice for founders, executives who are successful on paper but carry doubt, pressure, imposter syndrome that no one else sees. A lot of people try to hide that. And so let's just start there. And I guess what I'd like to do, I'm like varying from my head, kind of a little set kind of course, but we just run free form, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I like it.
I got his book.
Oh, thanks, man.
So the book actually, I mean, you don't even hardly get into it. I'm not even on a page number. And this line, I mean, I read the whole book, but I'm still going back to this line. So this line is very important. And he delivers it with like a 1-2 punch right here in the beginning. I'm just going to read it if that's okay with you.
Yeah, go for it.
And then that will kind of get us started. Imposter syndrome, left unchecked at a minimum, can inflict unnecessary emotional suffering, ratchet it up a notch or two, and it can sabotage meaningful relationships and or careers. Take it to its extreme, it can lead to debilitating depression. Wow, that really stuck with me. Reading your book. And it was nice reading. I kind of like how you put the book together, right? I mean, the first part is kind of how you can attack this imposter syndrome. And then the last part kind of goes into your story, which puts a little bit more, I don't know. I felt like, I know you kind of like self-deprecated a little bit. Like, you don't have to read that other half if you don't want to. But I mean, but I liked it. I liked the second half. I thought the second half actually was good because you kind of in the first part talk about kind of the tools, second half kind of put it in practice.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny because I wrote the second half first, and then I thought, if nothing else, my kids will understand more of what they experienced as kids.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Teenagers.
That's great.
And we were pretty transparent about some of the stuff, but you had to be careful. Like, a 4-year-old and 7-year-old don't understand what does partner embezzlement mean. All they knew was we got moved halfway across the country, so I didn't destroy my former partner or destroy my name if I didn't out him.
Right, because that's kind of, exactly right. Even though you're I guess, technically the victim, right? It's just still, It's probably not going to look good.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a good name is to be valued above great riches. I truly believe that. And when I discovered that, I mean, that was one of many that was actually tiddlywinks compared to some other things that we went through. But, it was leaving my own company that I had turned around that had my name on the door. That was traumatic. And more importantly than that, it was just a breach of trust of somebody that was 20 years older than me that I really looked to as kind of a father figure. I had a great dad. So it wasn't like he was replacing my father, but he was, he was a business partner. And that betrayal of trust was really difficult. But when your name is on the door, and you discover that, and I caught him twice. So it's like, I gave him a couple chances. And after the second chance, like, all right, enough of this. You got a choice, or I had a choice, which is, do I out him? And I would have just destroyed the guy's life because I know that his ex-wife was suing him. And if she had a competent attorney, they would have been able to uncover what I uncovered very quickly. But that wasn't the case. So, and I didn't want to destroy him. What I realized at a very tender age was, hey, we're all one stupid decision away from complete train wreck. And it was a series of dumb decisions, but he made one decision and it was a ends justify the means thing. It's a long story and I was just caught in the crossfire between him and his ex-wife, quite frankly. So, but it was debilitating.
I've had a couple of those myself.
Yeah.
I wrote a check to buy a old partner out after, I guess, I don't know if it was before or after the divorce.
Oh, wow.
And we kind of had it falling apart because of that whole situation.
Yeah.
And we got back together some years later, and I'm like, yeah, and I paid you back your money and bought you out. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like,
what?
I sent you a check and you cashed it. I still have the canceled check with your signature on. He goes, let me see that signature.
Oh,
so
wow.
I went and took a picture of it. So then he goes, dude, that ain't me.
Wow.
He called his ex Satan. He goes, that's Satan, sign that.
Wow.
Yeah. Can you imagine? And it was just like, because I just wanted to get out of that whole,
yeah,
the stuff that was going on. I mean, he didn't embezzle, but he decided to take some work outside the company, and he was getting paid directly.
Mm-hmm.
And we were still paying him all of his benefits and a salary.
And failed to tell you that.
He didn't fail to tell me. I just okay, he told me he got the contract. I'm like, okay, so, where are we sending the invoice to? Where's the contract? What's going on? He goes, oh, no, this is all going to me, and you're going to still pay me. I'm like, I go, we're not making that kind of money, dude. I mean, we're just trying to get started here. And,
right.
And he was okay with it all. I mean, I go, I can keep you going for a little while in the health bennies, but I go, we can't, we just can't keep paying this out. And so it was kind of similar, but different. Did you ever reconcile?
No. What's funny is he kind of smelled that I was onto him. And after the first time that I caught him, then what he tried to do is get me into a serious non-compete. And I had won a big account called British Aerospace. And it was, a couple $1 million account. And they had told me, they said, listen, if you ever leave, we ain't staying. We're staying with you, you're the reason. And I'm like, well, I'm not planning on leaving. My name's on the door, all that. And they had said that before I caught him the first time. So when he tries doing that, I'm like, dude, first of all, if I signed it, they aren't going to stay with you. So you aren't going to be able to pay me anyway, but I am not going to solicit anybody. But they are free to do what they're going to do. But you have my word, I'm not soliciting anybody. I just knew what, the ramifications were of all that.
You actually wrote about that in the book. I remember reading about that.
Yeah. So, but what you just described, like I was, I thought I was an idiot. Like I must be a total village idiot to have this go on underneath my nose and not suspect it, whatever. And I was embarrassed, painfully embarrassed. And when I had moved to Charlotte from Wichita, Kansas, somebody's pressing me like, why did you leave your own firm? And, I'm trying to like, well, we want to get closer to family out on the East Coast and blah, blah, blah. And, Nashville was the closest in Atlanta. They aren't necessarily around the block, and so he keeps pressing me. And finally I just said, listen, I caught my partner embezzling money. And I was so embarrassed. He goes, oh, you too?
You too.
They're like, that's weapon number one. Realize you're not alone, because most of the things that we go through as humans, we're not the only one. We're not the first one. I can guarantee you that, because
Right.
Solomon said thousands of years ago, there's nothing new under the sun. Well, if he said that, 4,000 years ago or whatever, I pretty much guarantee you, yeah, we've seen this one before. Somebody's seen it, and you're not alone. And I think that's a huge thing to realize. When we suffer in silence, it's kind of our own doing, but it takes a little courage to admit. And then it's so freeing, just like what you experienced. Like, hey, oh yeah, I went through that too. Different circumstances, but similar sense of betrayal, sense of like, why, what happened?
Right.
What am I going to do with this?
I remember I had a kind of talks about the other side of this, is I remember having a client of mine, and I actually went to work for him, but he had dug himself a pretty deep hole and owed me a lot of money. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why he hired me. And so he's like, look, I can put you on the books, put you on as an employee, and then I'll pay you, it's pretty deep hole because he's paying me 10 grand a month to get caught up. Yeah. On top of my salary. And not any fault of his own, he had to end up closing shop due to his clients who screwed him over. And I just remember going through all of that, and I was not happy. I mean, this is, this is low to mid six figures he owed me. Yeah. And we're not talking 100,000, like, right. We're talking above that. And so I finally caught up with him one day, because people were mad. They said he took like I think he had a couple of $500,000 checks that came in from clients, and he took them all himself. And I tried to tell people, I was probably his only advocate. I said, wow. I go, he's trying to keep himself out of prison, people. Yeah. I know it sucks not getting paid money that you've earned. He's in a different place than you guys are. And this client really, he over leveraged him. He was not paying, what's it called? Trust money to the IRS. Oh, and he owns sales tax money. Oh, and so that'll throw you in prison. Right. It will. And, any withholdings or that will, because it's not your money, to jail. Right. It's not your money. It's straight up theft, technically. Yeah. And unless you're a politician, then you won't go to prison. But if you're working schmuck like us, you'll go to prison. But I finally caught up with him one day, and he was like, so you're not angry at me? I go, no, dude, I'm not angry. I go, I'm disappointed. I go, yeah, it sucks not getting paid. But I go, if I was in your same shoes, I can't sit and have this conversation and say I wouldn't have done the same thing. Yeah. I can't. I go, your back was against the wall. You were trying to keep yourself out of prison. You're taking every dime you could, because I'm sure that's what, we're talking to the IRS. That's what I've had those experiences where, you're sitting down across this desk from an IRS agent, and they're like, well, how much you got in your bank account? And I'll never forget this. And I go, I got $16,500. She goes, I need a check right now for $16,000. Oh no! Wow. Before she asked me, she goes, "Did you pay all your staff?" I'm like, "Yeah, here's the report from Paychecks. I paid everybody." Like, okay. And did you pay yourself? I'm like, "Not yet." She goes, "Okay." And how much you got left? 16,000. I was like, "Okay, so write me a check right now for." I go, "How am I supposed to get paid?" She goes, "Not my problem."
Wow.
But, she was real nice to me in the end because I had a problem with an accountant that didn't do the job right. Fortunately, it wasn't any embezzlement or anything. I just didn't do. I thought I had more money than what I had is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so I hired a new accountant, and he told me, I said, well, I got this, they want to meet with me. And I go, can you come along? He's like, no, you don't want me to come along. And I told that to the agent. She's like, yeah, he's right. She goes, you don't know how many times these tax attorneys come in here and think they're going to throw their weight around, try to earn their multiple $100 hourly rate. She goes, they got another thing coming.
Yeah.
She was funny. At the end, she was funny, but we made it through that. But anyway, I had a conversation with this guy, and, I told him I was disappointed. I go, I wish you would have just you could have kept the business going. Maybe, instead of making $15 million a year, you're only making $1 million a year, and you could have maybe paid me, I don't know, a couple thousand a year, and eventually got me paid off. And I go, but I know you didn't. And he's like, oh, wow. Well, that's actually good to hear. And I go, dude, I don't hate you, man. I go, I don't know very many people that could have lasted. And it was just really sad. It's actually really sad because that man died at age of 58. Wow. And I truly believe, you're talking about all this stuff. I think the stress, the depression.
Oh, it'll eat you alive, man.
And I don't think he offed himself. I just think he just had too much. I don't know the actual details of his death because it's kind of quiet due to the circumstances, and I'd lost contact with him. But I'm at least glad that I had the conversation I had, so that we had cleared the air really and reconciled. Because I didn't hate him. I hated what happened. I guess, and what even what he did. I mean, a lot of people put in those same kind of circumstances when you have a major client that didn't, because the major client really led him down the primrose path and then pulled the rug out from underneath him. He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars expanding his business. And then they said, oh, you know what? Oops. Signed a long-term 5-year contract and said, oops, no, we're not going to do that. We cancel the contract. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I mentioned that story because one of the things that you do is you're the MacGyver of CEOs. And so I'm curious, have you ran into situations where people are like, they've expanded their company, everything's looked great, they got the contracts to show that they got the income coming in where it makes sense to expand, and the next thing you know, boom. Those companies that signed those contracts said, you know what? No, we're not doing that anymore. See you later. Goodbye.
Yeah, it's called concentration risk, man. When you got too much wound up in one company, and diversifications, you're definitely your friend. It's interesting. I was coaching a guy that had a soil erosion control company, and this guy, his story, like one of the reasons that I love our podcast called the Anything But Typical Podcast is because we have these stories of people that are business owners and then entrepreneurs that have humility. They're willing to talk about the hard times, the difficult times, the lonely times, because it's lonely, man. And the bigger the company, the more lonely it gets because you can't trust anybody, man. Like, why are you hanging around me? You don't know if it's really because of you or it's really because of your power and influence. I mean, you really don't know. And so anyway, we're looking at his, and he had grown this thing from nothing. I mean, literally, he barely finished high school, got fired from the Hardys, and he started his company picking up trash on work sites, literally.
Wow. That was the start of it.
That was the start.
Picking up trash. One employee himself.
Yeah, him. And then he and his wife lived in a tent in the woods for a while because his story's incredible. Philip Lanier, and he's written about it. He came out with a book recently. It's just really cool.
What's the name of the book?
I think it's like No College, No Problem or something like that.
Okay. I like
Philip Lanier. He lives down in Charleston.
That probably resonated with you because you wrote about that as well in your book.
I loved this guy from the time that I met him.
And by the way, college doesn't mean a thing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, well, in 2 Fortune 100 companies, I didn't know that because I was embarrassed and I was the only one that I knew of that had been a college dropout that was in my strata, if you will. And so anyway, one of the things that after we started working with him, we looked, and one of his largest clients, so big home builders, he had over 25% of all of his income tied to this one builder, and helped him get a really good CFO in place who was really good. And I said, man, we need to do some analysis on, like, let's see your profitability by customer, because you got concentration risk. Well, what he found was he was paying $35, losing $35 for every invoice that he sent to this large company. And I said, dude, you got to raise your prices. And he goes, I'm afraid they're going to go. I said, they will give you a raise if they leave, and they were really, really good.
And he was large enough he could actually probably lose them.
Yeah, he could, but he was terrified. He was afraid.
Because it's 25% cut in revenue.
Because a lot of business owners look at top line and they think, hey, look how great I'm doing. But it's like, hey, but how much bottom line? If you're losing money on everyone, you need to stop the hemorrhaging, because growing will kill you. So, he was about ready to throw up when he went in to meet with these guys. He calls me. He's like, man, I go, dude, you've got the numbers. Where are they going to go? Yeah, there's some cheaper alternatives out there, but that you kill them with service. You've got way better operations. You're dependable. You say you do what you say you're going to do. So he goes in, and they weren't happy about it. But I said, tell them, what good am I if I go out of business? Oh, hey, the prices were so great. We loved them until they went out of business. But it was just so cool to see. And that's actually where.
And what happened? Does he share that in his book?
Yeah,
what happened with these guys?
Oh yeah, they got him. And he what's interesting. So about 4 years ago, he sold his company. And when I first met him, he had an offer for about a fourth of what he ended up selling for. And I said, well, what are you going to do? Because there's more money than he had ever had. But I'm like, it's not going to be enough. You're still young. It's not going to take you through, what are you going to do?
Right.
You still got to do something. It's not like you got $100 million and you got
wise advice. Even if you had $100 million, you still have to do something.
You got to do something, man. We were made for purpose, And so I said,
exactly.
So are you running to something, or are you running from something? That was one of the best questions I ever had from my best boss.
Oh, wow.
Are you running to something or running
really
from
good.
something?
Yeah.
Well, only you can answer that. And so he goes, well, I don't know. I said, he goes, and so he starts talking about how he hates debt. And, he had millions of dollars in equipment and with hydro seeders, because he was doing big DOT stuff and whatever. He hated that. And he was a big Dave Ramsey guy, like no debt, blah, blah, blah. And so he was like living under this, cloud of guilt, well, not all debt is bad. I get it. And Dave Ramsey really helped him, get his financial house in order. So I'm hearing all these difficulties, and I said, but what are you going to do? And I said, what would you do? And he said, well, I'd love to build a tiny house community for the working poor. I go, I think that's really cool, but that's not going to make you any money. Now what? I mean, that's a great thing, but now what? And he just couldn't, he was stumped. And I said, it sounds to me like you're running from something instead of running to something. Like, yeah. And he said, well, will you work with me? And I said, no, I won't, as long as you're entertaining offers, because your team feels you pulling away, whether you think that they do or not. You're a fully engaged person, but they can sense it. I can guarantee you. And I'd never met his team. He had 100 some people at that time, I guess. And so then he called me I said, if you shut the door on offers and you really want to get serious about growing this thing, then you call me and we'll get to work. And I needed the money, man. I mean, I really did, but I was not going to take his money if I can't start something that we can finish. So we did. and it was really fun. I mean, that was one of the funnest groups I've ever worked with. And when he sold, he was so stressed out. He ended up going into the hospital. He had more money than he could have ever imagined. Had
the financials changed much in the time that he had the first offer to the?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like we helped him quadruple his bottom line and triple his top line, so.
Okay.
Yeah. And he had it going, but there was recessionary winds, war drums banging a little bit, it was like kind of during the Biden switch over and, regulations are going to get heavier and blah, blah, blah. And so, he ended up having an offer that was just too good to be true. But like, it took him a while to figure out, okay, so what am I going to do? And now he's kind of got his wind underneath his wings again. And it's really fun to see him, but like I've seen that many, many times where guys get a pot of money and they hit success because they've been working so hard. And then after they've taken one too many vacations or played one too many rounds of golf and they're bored off of their gourd and they're driving their spouse crazy because all of a sudden they're hanging around home and, it was the spouse's domain. And now all of a sudden, what are you doing invading my space? I mean, I know guys that have killed themselves because of it.
Really?
Oh yeah. Wow. I mean, this is no joke.
Yeah. Money doesn't solve all problems like that. I've known, unfortunately, I've had friends that are, well into, I guess, what do you call it? 7 figures and, still they're, I don't want to go another day, Kirk. And I'm just like, I don't understand it. It's hard for me to even wrap my head around it. Yeah. The one thing that I have learned is that it doesn't solve all the problems. I think, who is it? Dr. Murray Banks. He's like, money, how does it? He says, money won't make you happy, but it can make you comfortable. So you can be miserable, but comfortable or something. He has a joke. I don't know if you heard of Dr. Murray Banks. He's pretty funny about that.
But that's so true. Like, we are comfort seeking people. I am guilty, comfort seeking person. But I've also realized, wait a minute, comfort doesn't make us stronger. It just doesn't. It makes us atrophy. And when I was,
why is that? Because it's a really strange phenomenon, right? I mean, that's kind of, for me, like I think I sent you a text. I was feeling a little under the weather the last couple of days, so I didn't plunge today. But that's kind of my thing. I mean, I want to go get my coffee, and I'll get my coffee, and then I'm reaching for that cup. I'm like, dude, you just need to go do it. Stop being stop being a pussy and just get in there. And I think that's part of it for me. I don't know about you, but for me, that's kind of just part of it. It's kind of like who was the guy that wrote the book? The captain guy, I think he was in the Navy. First thing you do is you make your bed. Oh yes. It's like you just you start the day, checking off successes. And if you can check off a few successes in the morning, it's just like, it just sets the tone for the entire day. At least that's my feeling. I don't know. Do you do it in the morning or is that when you do it?
It depends. I did until I started reading more research about, like if you're going to lift weights or and I don't do a lot of weightlifting anymore, but I do a lot of pull-ups and push-ups and stuff like that and some kettlebells and whatever. But you need at least 4 hours for your body to, let that natural inflammation do its job, because otherwise the cold plunge will actually work against you. And I didn't realize that. I didn't know that. So typically I wait. And when I do my cold plunge musing once a week where I'm, getting in there and talking, that does get your mind off of how freaking cold you are. So
I've done a few phone calls while people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm in my cold plunge.
it makes the time go way faster.
But you're down to 30. You're down to 33 degrees when you're doing it now?
Oh yeah. It was like I was peeling ice off on Sunday, but I removed my chiller because my chiller will take it down to 39. and I'd been covering it up and whatever. But when it gets down to 9 degrees and we were at 9, 14, like there's no way I could keep that thing warm enough and not have the lines break. So I unhooked my chiller and knew that it's going to get cold. And sure enough, like as long as it doesn't turn into a big old tub of solid ice, which it won't, because it's got, I've got clarifier and hydrogen peroxide in there and whatever.
Right.
But, anyway, yeah. But
33 degrees. Wow. So how long are you doing 33 degrees for?
That was 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Wow. Is that kind of like after 5 minutes, it's just not really worth it? Yeah.
They keep coming out with a little bit more details, and I think they're still learning, quite frankly. But, they say, and quite frankly, the ideal temperature is warmer than 33. I think it's closer to 46 up to 50. So I think there's still, conflicting thoughts about that. Typically in the summer, I'll keep it around 42, 39 to 42. But
when you go in, are you shivering?
No, because I'm like,
you're so acclimated to it.
What I've done, like what I'll do is I'll do a run. Or like I was shoveling snow, like an unusual snow in Charlotte, and I was shoveling all day on Sunday afternoon. So I thought, well, I got to get this cold plunge in. And so I was warm already, so that was good. And then I just have a towel around me while I'm taking off the cover and all that. And I've got insulation, like it's insulated blanket around it and on top. So then, fire up the tripod. And here's the funny reason that I started doing this. So my son, who has a shoe company called Flux Footwear, he launched it about 5 years ago, but 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, he said, and he's in Denver, Colorado. He said, Dad, I'm sending you a present. You got to try it one time and you got to video yourself doing it. And I'm thinking, oh man, what in the world? My wife was a little nervous. And I said, I think it's a cold plunge. And sure enough, he sent me a cheapie, like a $60 cold plunge. So I do it, and it was 52-degree water coming out of the tap, and it seized my body. I was like, what are you doing, Zach? And so I sent him and I think I made it 2 minutes, but I'm like, oh wow, Zach. So the next day, I'm going out and I'm setting it up because it's in January. And so it's cold, but it doesn't snow much here in Charlotte. It's an anomaly. So, but it was cold. And my wife sees me setting up a tripod for my phone and she goes, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going to video myself. I'm not doing a one and done on this thing. And she goes, but why are you setting it up? And I said, well, what I found is if I'm talking and I'm focused on something besides that, I can't feel my fingers and my toes because those are the extremities that go the fastest. I said, it just helps. So then it just became this thing. And I thought, I'm going to just throw it up on LinkedIn. I don't care. And it's become this thing. Now, is it a cult following? No. And I'm not doing it for that reason, but I'm thinking it gets my mind, I have to focus. That's a really good thing. I have to focus on what do I want to talk about and not just jibber jabber. And it's just been a fun.
And it doesn't matter how prepared you are when you hit that water. It's just, yeah. And my mother-in-law came out one day and saw me doing that. She's like, so does that feel good? And I'm like, no.
Never.
I find for me though, I'm wanting to get more of a elongated tub. I actually have one. A friend of mine gave me. He got a new tub for his bathroom from Amazon. It had a crack in it.
Oh, so yeah.
I just put tape over it, and that's what I used initially with just ice.
Yeah.
And but I just had down here in South Florida. It was hard to get me past 55 degrees. It just took so much ice, and that's why I ended up you sent me the link, and I got that.
Oh yeah. Did you get the
same
pod?
one?
All right.
I got the whatever well? I actually called them and confirmed I had to get the more expensive one because they're if you got the regular one, it's just not going to chill it.
No, yeah. So you got to have half horsepower.
So it's the thicker walled tub, and I actually just went out and got a piece of, I think it's like 2-inch foam, insulating foam, cut a circle, and it sits on top.
Oh, sure.
And so like I said, I'm down to like 49.50 right now.
Yeah, that's
and what
good.
you were saying, that's probably maybe even the sweet spot. I don't know.
I think you probably are. Do some additional Googling, and if ChatGPT just, cite the source, otherwise it'll hallucinate.
Oh yeah. Trust me. I'm like, you're hallucinating. Give me the source.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The source will stump it. I
like to warm up in my pool though. My pool runs anywhere from like 68 to 72.
Oh yeah.
And so after I get done 5 minutes there, I do another 5 minutes technically nobody I know would swim in that water, but it actually feels good. And what I find that's really nice for me is, I can put my face in then.
Yeah.
The water and the cool water. I mean, it's not the plunge water, but it's the cool water, and it actually feels good. I just find that it's hard to get like your armpits and then behind my knees with getting in that smaller tub. I just finding it hard to get those cooled down. Cause I mean, if you don't get those cool, you're not really getting cooled down. Those are like, I guess you got major blood vessels going through those joints or parts of your body.
I find myself wanting to do
with
this
my arms kind of up.
Yeah.
And then I spread my fingers out. I was reading something. There's like I don't know if I don't want to call it a film because it's not a film, but there's like this, if you don't move,
there's
some kind of warmth that it keeps you warm.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And they do have little water circulation things that you can get for the ice pod as well.
Oh, really? To make it?
Yeah. So
even though it's cold,
circulate.
You're actually, you can actually be, I don't know how much warmer it is by not moving. So now I kind of move a little bit while I'm in there.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah.
And
that's smart.
Move my legs around. But so I don't know. I really like it. Thanks for encouraging me to do that. Cause I don't know. I think there's a lot of benefits that you can't even imagine from it. I'm not sure how good it is for women. My wife has done the old ChatGPT thing. She's like, it's not good for women.
Well, yeah.
So she's like, I'm not doing that.
She
does a cold shower though. She does do a cold shower, which I don't know what our shower temperature water is, but it's got, I guess that's what prompted me is I don't know how I guess you just started cold turkey then. No pun intended. With your gift.
Yeah, because he sent it to me and I'm like, I'm up for a challenge. All right. Challenge accepted, Zach. Let's do it. Because
for me, it was the cold showers. They just didn't feel cold anymore. I get into my cold shower down here in South Florida and it just was like, well, this is just room temperature. This doesn't feel like anything. When I first did it, it was freezing. Either. Believe it or not, when I first started doing cold showers, I didn't want to take a cold shower.
Right.
And this is the same water temperature as it's always been. Now it's like nothing. It's weird. It's just like, it accumulates over time.
Your body does get used to it. That's for sure. Yeah.
Have you experienced where you've had maybe a 1 or 2 week break and then you go back in?
I had to do it for months without it because I've had 7 eye surgeries in the last 2 years, but during a 1 year period, 5 eye surgeries and, vascular constriction because it was retina. I had retina detachment. And so that's when I started doing a not so cold plunge musing. So I had done like 60 cold plunge musings and then I couldn't do it. So I'm like, well, I'm going to keep my cold plunge clean and keep water in it and keep that thing moving, see whenever I get cleared to do it. So yeah, I went without. And so when I was finally cleared to go back in, I'm like, all right. And, it wasn't the same as the first time. Like your body does get used to.
Right. But it still probably felt colder than the last time.
Yeah, I think it did. But your body acclimates.
And by the way, let's just call this out. So Gary had these eye surgeries and he couldn't put his face in. That actually makes it harder.
Oh, no.
Not easier. That's actually harder. because first thing I do when I go in, dunk the face in, and I don't know what there's something with the nerves in the face. Your body just reacts, and it almost feels like the water warmed up 2 or 3 degrees.
Oh yeah, interesting.
And so he's getting in without putting his. Oh, you still don't put your face, really? Because that's interesting. Now, okay, so I didn't even think this conversation was going to go down this path. I just recently went in for an eye exam 2 weeks ago, and I had a detached retina. And
really?
So, yes, through a normal exam, they had just gotten a new camera. I kind of had to argue with them. They're like, "Do you want to do a picture? Do you know?" And I go, "Or do you want to dilate? What do you want to do?" And I'm like, I don't know, new camera. I got it. When's the last time I had a picture? Like 2 years ago. I go, let's do a new picture. Are you sure? It's $49. I'm like, yes, I want to do it. It's like, do I have to twist your arm to make me spend some money? Wow. So he did this new picture machine, and I'm, some people might think I'm just doing a pitch for this doctor, and a lot of people thought it was I talked to some people and they thought it was a little, how do I want to say? Well, yeah, sure, they'll do this picture so they can charge another $50, but
no,
I'm going to tell you something. When I went into the actual retinal specialist down here in Florida, he must have said a dozen times, "Oh, wow, that was a good catch. Oh, wow, that was a good catch." He said it, I don't know how many times. Wow. I actually got a bottle of bourbon here for my optometrist because, like, for real, like this guy kept saying, and I think what I'm reading between the lines, and I could be wrong, but what I'm reading between the lines is, this wasn't something that most annual routine exams would have caught, because they caught it super early and it wasn't fully torn, and I was able to get in literally the next day. And so I'm just curious. So I see a bunch of black spots now where he, I guess, stitched it with lasers. Oh yeah, that hurts like a son of a gun when they do that laser surgery like that. Really? That hurt. It didn't. I found it discomfort, like but it wasn't painful. Like, well, I had a horseshoe tear, the first one. So I was releasing my book, and this was like October. So that's a major tear. Oh, you're saying horseshoe is like it's a whole. See, mine was like 3 millimeters. Mine was 3 millimeters. That was it. Oh, yeah, mine was very small. I was on one of these Zoom calls with Hillary Porta, and she's interviewing me on the day of my book launch. And all of a sudden I see ink black squiggles going across my eye. I'm like, whoa, this is weird. And then that evening, it's like steamy shower door is going over my eye, like white, kind of steamy, like this is weird. So I call my optometrist the next morning, because I just had a regular routine thing for my glasses. I've been wearing glasses forever. And I said, something is not right. Like I'm banging the phones until they answered the first thing in the morning. And I said, this is what's going on. They said, you need to come in right away. So I go in right away. They look and they're like, oh, that's a horseshoe tear. You're having surgery today with a retina specialist. So they send me to retina specialist. And so he's like, all right, and you wait because they're shoehorning you in. So we get in, and he goes, well, this is what we're going to do. And they, you're fully dilated. They numb you up as much as they can. It felt like for 10 minutes, they were drilling on every one of my teeth with no Novocaine. Oh, wow. I mean, I was white knuckling it. And I have a fairly high pain threshold, but like I cold plunge at 33 degrees. I am sweating and shaking. And it's like, wow. Man, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I mean, it's like somebody kicked you with steel-toed boots where you don't want to be kicked, only it's registering at the back of your eyeball. Right. It's like, holy moly. So we think, oh, well, that's it. And, you can't see, like you're looking at lights and they're purple or whatever from the laser. But, okay. So 10 minutes of lasering. 10 minutes of. That's substantial. See, I was like maybe 2 minutes. Maybe. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. They were in and out. I think they caught it super early. Yeah. You're so blessed. I mean, so blessed. But the bottle of bourbon's definitely deserved. Yeah. Yeah. Get them a good one. But then a few months later, I'm thinking I'm good. And I have a blind spot, like
I can't see my finger here, but I can see it here. I can't see it here. Like, so, and I'm thinking, I got to go back in anyway. But that had been happening for weeks, and I should have gone in immediately. And retina specialist, Dr. Tucker goes, "Oh man, you got a partial detachment. Like, it's time for big boy surgery." Like, what? And he is like, "Yeah, it's called a vitrectomy, where it's full anesthesia. You're under general anesthesia. It's a 1 hour procedure. They remove they put a shunt in one side of your eyeball and a shunt in the other, and they remove all the vitreous fluid, and then they put a gas bubble in, and then guess what? You get to look down at the floor for 5 days. For some people I've had, like Reebok's founder, his wife, I was talking to her, she had this happen, and she was down for like 3 weeks like that. Oh my goodness, that's excruciating.
So you're laying in a bed face down?
You're like I was laying on a flat coffee table that we have that's padded, and putting my head on another chair and looking down. And then when you stand up, you're looking down. When you are trying to sleep, you have to be in a certain position where this gas bubble is, and then it dissipates after, I don't know, 10 days or something like that, 2 weeks, something like that. And that's a weird deal. So we think, oh, this is great. Okay, everything's good. 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, maybe, I'm getting ready. I have to go do a keynote speech. And that night, and I was cleared to start lifting some dumbbells again and whatever. And I picked up these 52-pound dumbbells, and I'm thinking, uh-oh, like I didn't feel something, but like I just knew something wasn't quite right. A third of my vision was gone by the next morning. And I'm like, I got to drive to Myrtle Beach. It's 3.5 hour drive. So I called the doc on call that was Dr. Tucker's partner. I said, here's what's going on. And he goes, well, I said, can I drive? Because I'm the keynote speaker and they don't have a backup. It's like for a big conference. And he's like, well, we'd rather not, but understand your commitment. So yeah, as long as you feel comfortable. But he said, you got to get your butt in here. This was on a Sunday when I called him. I had to drive that afternoon. Then Sunday night, complete lights out. Like it's starting to close, and I'm looking through like a 1/4-inch slit, and then boom, gone. And so I deliver my speech with one eye, drive home with one eye. That's weird. And then get into the doc, and he's like, you're going in for surgery tomorrow. I'm like, okay, another one of those vitrectomies, no joke. And he said, we're putting silicone in your eye. And the bad thing is like to stabilize that retina, because it was a full detachment. It like the whole membrane just collapsed. It's like the screen, of a projection screen just like collapses. So he said, we have to do another vitrectomy after that's done to remove the oil. But like that's months. We got to keep that. So you're looking through this oil, like it's the weirdest thing. But what a blessing, man. I mean, my dad lost an eye to that, never got his sight back. And, so it's a blessing that you got that thing covered and taken care of when you did. And it's another one of those deals where it's like, you too, I've had more people go, oh, dude, I've had the same thing. Like, I mean, it's just.
I'm like telling everybody, go spend the money for the photograph. Make sure you get dilated. Make sure they check you out, because it's, you only have 2 eyeballs, and you really don't want to lose one, because that's still like.
Oh, it's weird. Yeah.
So how was it driving back? I mean, with one eye? I mean, I'm sure that was
strange, because like I couldn't see anybody passing me because it's my left eye. I couldn't see anybody on my peripheral. But my father lived for, I don't know, another 20 years, almost 30 years, 25 years with one eye, and he had one leg, and he was still driving like he had lost a leg to polio when he was 17. So He was driving a 33-foot motorhome, pulling a car even through the Tetons with one eye and one leg. I'm like, okay, you can do it. But right. I have a whole new appreciation. And, he had passed before this happened to me, but I thought, man, at least I could talk with my dad about that, but yeah, so it's a blessing to be able to have both eyes.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's my understanding. Would you call the gel in there natural gel, vitreous?
Oh, the vitreous fluid
vitreous fluid. So what they explained to me is that it's at midlife.
Yeah,
it's pulling away, and that
correct.
It kind of stuck to that one part, and it will tear when it's trying to pull away. And then I guess through their exam, because they checked my left eye, which was the unaffected eye, they said, "Oh, that one's already been that vitreous fluid is already detached." So he goes, you have no risk on your left eye of this happening.
Oh, that's a blessing.
So is that what happened with you as well? Was it that stuck and then pulled and teared it?
Yeah, because I was like, horseshoe? What caused this? Because I wasn't working out. What's the deal? And they said, you're over 50. You are nearsighted. So if you're
nearsighted as well, okay,
it's just how the eyeball elongates and it puts additional pressure on the retina. And what I didn't know is the retina is like a super thin single ply toilet paper that's wet. That's like what it's like. It's very fragile.
Super fragile. Yeah.
And I mean, if you don't believe in God and you look at the intricacies of just the human eyeball, like, whoa. I mean, it's just mind boggling, how intricate and wonderfully we were created, but we're all very fragile, far more fragile than we think we are. And like we are fearfully and wonderfully made. I really believe that. And so, I don't wish these things on others. And I've got, when I went back to my eye doc a year ago, because
this is very recent, right?
Yeah.
Right?
So
Gary, I mean, like August 18 months ago or
October of 23 when the first tear happened. But then I hadn't seen my eye doc until last May of 25 because of all these surgeries. It didn't make sense. So I said, man, I really wish I could read with this left eye. Because there was some cloudiness. It's almost like looking through saran wrap that has little bubbles. It's very weird. And she goes, Gary, I've got an American Airlines pilot that had about a third of what happened to you, and he can read the big E. That's it. Grounded. So she said, it's really a miracle you can see what you can see. I'm like, wow, okay. I did not know. I was thinking,
that was like me after my surgery. I saw these little I was in a super bright parking stairway. So the sun was in there and it's all white. And I see all these spots, what I'm guessing is so I call the doc. I go, I don't want to be a pain. I'm not really concerned, but I think I should tell you, I'm seeing all these little dots. And I go, do I need to come in? I go, it's okay if I don't. I go, just trust me. I'm not complaining. I'm happy I can see.
Yes. Yeah.
But I just don't want to not say anything because I don't want anything to go wrong here, and mess up what he did. And by not getting back in quick enough.
Right.
And they're like, no, that's perfectly normal. And they said it should go away. It hasn't yet. I don't know. Did you, I guess, so they'll heal up. That's just scarring.
Yeah, they will. I mean, it's almost like PTSD a little bit because then you're very hypersensitive to like every morning I'm like, can I see? But yeah, so it's different. And then I just had another laser surgery. It's called a YAG. So this one is like the least. But he goes, well, so you have to have a very specialized cataract surgeon that is dealing with retina patients. So he's very specialized because a cataract develops from the steroids and whatever they give you from the first surgery, like the first big boy surgery. So sure enough, I have to have that and cataract removed. They put in a new lens. So then they have to clear off this film that develops with a laser. So I go back for my 1 year check and the doc's like, Dr. K, he's like, well, you're in the 1%. And I go, what's that mean? He goes, yeah, you've got these cells, these errant cells that your body's trying to do to kind of help heal that retina. And they're attaching to the backside of the artificial lens, which is why you can't see clearly through that. Oh, good. And there's always a risk with every procedure they do. But it was pretty cool. Like, yeah, they go in and he goes with a low dose laser, and it's like popping these cells. It's just mind blowing. But what was interesting to me too is Dr. K, he fled Iran when it was still Persia. He said, he goes, I'm good, but I'm not God. And he goes, this new lens, they're good. And I paid for the extra good one, but he goes, it will never replace what you were naturally given. Like, again, I'm just like, wow. Okay.
With all the tech that they've got now, right? All the tech. They can't replicate it.
No. So
anyway, so the word there is, guys, get your eyes checked. And if you get a chance to, maybe if they have, the photographic imaging equipment, I suggest go ahead and spend a few bucks
and do it.
And do it. At least get yourself a baseline, so you know what's what. I've always done the pictures. I think I've done them like every, they keep upgrading the equipment, but the first this office has always had it. And I've had probably 2 or 3 pictures taken prior to this, and everything was good. But wow, I didn't realize we were going to segue into a PSA for getting eye exams.
Well, and here's the other thing that I would say: be grateful, whatever you got. And one of the things that I do talking about in Silence the Imposter, it's really not about the book. It's really about things that I learned in really deep and dark, horrific places, quite frankly. But one of the most powerful things that I learned in the depth of my deepest despair, where all hell was breaking loose, and we'd lost everything. Our private equity firm blows up, $30 million worth of us got wiped out. And I got 2 kids in college, lose everything except for my house. And lawsuits are flying. Like it's just unimaginable. And yet it's nothing compared to what other people go through. I think about Todd Francis, who met on LinkedIn, that's stage 4 cancer for 2 years and like no family. And yet his writings are so profound. We all carry our own difficulties, but what I learned was intentional gratitude. And it's not toxic positivity. It is about finding something to be grateful for in the midst of deep and difficult pain. You must acknowledge the pain. You must acknowledge the difficulty. But what happens is I would fixate on that and just ruminate, and it just takes you down. But if you can find some gratitude in the middle of it and be grateful. I mean, so when I couldn't see out of one eye, I'm like, okay, well, I can be grateful that I can see out of one eye.
Right.
I can
still see.
I can still see. And like, we live in a pretty amazing world. Yeah, it's a fallen place, but there's some like amazing stuff. Look at the imagery from the Webb telescope. Whoa.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Whoa. Blow your mind. Things that our human minds can't even imagine. But I think when we find things that we're grateful for, it gets our mind off of our own inadequacies and the difficulties. again, you have to acknowledge the difficulties, just don't dwell there. And
right.
And
I'm with you on that. I learned a really valuable lesson. I was on the Camino this past fall, and I had rented a bike, and the bike honestly was crap. And suffered through that a couple of times, chain breaks, and the chain finally broke in 3 places where I had lost a piece and it was too short. I couldn't fix it. They did give me a tool, but if I didn't have a spare chain, I was screwed. Right. So I ended up having to walk a couple of miles to get a cab, and the cab gets the bike. I take the bike, I throw it to the ground. I'm pissed off. Yeah. I didn't let the cabbie take the bike off the rack. I took it off and then just threw it on the ground. I was just so angry. And the owner of the hotel walks out. He's like, I'm in Spain, Galicia, Spain. And my wife speaks Spanish, and he's like, "What's going on?" "Oh, his bike broke and he's mad." And he looks at my wife and he looks at me. And he's like, "What's your problem? You got this beautiful woman standing right here." And he had just lost his wife.
Wow.
And that was pretty impactful. The bicycle means nothing. He's like, "You have a wife. I don't have a wife." The poor guy was super depressed. He's probably still grieving. Right. And, and it just, kind of slapped you upside your face, kind of put things in.
It's humbling, isn't it?
Yeah, it was very humbling because, all pissed off, and she's trying to calm me down. And, that's a gut punch, right?
Yeah.
I guess I would hope for most people it was for me anyway,
Yeah.
And just kind of, I can't say that I was over it the next day, but it definitely helped temper my anger quite a bit,
Yeah. Perspective is an important thing. We can lose perspective pretty easily. And, you've got a creative background. I was trained as a creative, and one of my superpowers was finding the flaws and the imperfections, but it also became my kryptonite because that's all I could see. And that's not seeing clearly. If all you see, it's great when you can see the imperfections and the flaws, because then you can go in and fix them, which is why I'm good at what I do. But if that's all you see, you got a problem, Pally. And I did have a problem. It was myopia. It was just, hey, have some balance here and use the superpower, but don't let it define you, and also don't let it cloud.
That's really interesting.
Reality.
So what kind of flaws do you see? Is it visual? Is it
so I'm in this beautiful place that we redid. It's a 110-year-old mill. And it was just a shell when we came in. So I worked with some incredible architects, and I started in architecture. So I had that eye anyway, and I started as a designer. But I can look up there and I can see there's a little piece of, and these are 17-foot ceilings, but in this office or in this studio, it's like they're probably 9 or 10 foot. But I can see a little piece of the wallpaper that's like not perfect. Well, am I going to just focus on that, or I'm going to focus on like, hey, this is a cool place, That's part of the thing.
So how do you deal with that? Because I can completely relate to that. My eye, if I walked into that office, my eye would probably be drawn to that piece of wallpaper, like almost immediately.
So what I'll probably do is I'll probably get a ladder at some point, and I will trim that thing off and just leave it. And there are this is a quirky old place, and there are little things that,
like here's one right now for me. See this? All this wrinkles drives me crazy.
Oh yeah, sure. It's called a steamer. Then get a steamer.
Yeah, I have one. I just, what's the saying? You fail to plan to fail. Yeah, for sure. But I can see the same thing in companies. Like I can spot
where the issue is very, very quickly.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that I'm good at that.
Thing.
That's why I don't. But the visual thing, yeah, right away I got it, just like you.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Walking into a company and spotting a problem, I'd say I don't have that necessarily.
But I have to be careful not to be a wrecking ball at the same time. Like,
right.
You know,
it's like a fine line, right?
Go at their pace just because I want to fix it. You know, like, you know, I like to attack the toughest things first, hit it hard. But not everybody's ready to do that. So you have to be, you know, and that's where age and some wisdom, you know, and for me, it was just getting kicked in the teeth so many times. Okay, I get it. You know, like willpower will take you so and so far, and then finally you will come to the end of yourself. And that's a blessing, you know, when that happens. If it doesn't kill you, it's a blessing. So anyway.
So I'm just curious. I want to dive into this just a little bit because we talked about it earlier. So you state in your book, and you've said it here actually already, you're a college dropout. Like, what does that mean for you as far as credibility versus credentials? And why do you think people overvalue the credentials when, you know, clarity and collaboration probably matter a little bit more, and having that vision, being able to see those
I think
blind spots?
For me, so, you know, I go back, I'm the oldest kid of two kids. My dad just was shy of writing his dissertation and getting it published for his PhD. My mom was a nurse, RN, had her 4-year degree. And here I am, the oldest child, and I'm going to Kansas State on a full ride academic scholarship called the Putnam Scholarship. And I drop out after my second year because I have a full-time job offer for a whopping $10,500 a year, no benefits design job after I'd interned for this guy. And my advisor says, Gary, you got to take the job because I can't get grads placed. And it was the height of the greatest unemployment since the Great Depression in 1982. Well, that doesn't sit real well with highly educated parents. And, you know,
my parents not only were they highly educated, they were in education. So
yeah,
I had no options. You're going to college, you're going to get a college degree because that's what you do.
My dad was an educator as well. So, you know, it was an embarrassment to them, I think, you know, and what my advisor had said, she had worked for Hallmark and I was a graphic designer. She's like, you know, your book is everything, you know, get a fireproof safe, keep your book in there. And like, that's it. Then you're working for a very talented designer, build your book. Well, okay. So then my identity becomes my ability to design. Well, if you look at most creatives, I mean, all you got to do is look at Golden Globes or whatever, Grammys, you know, all the self-adulation awards shows. Well, that's what we had in the advertising world too, and design world. Like everybody's hiding behind their mask and they're self-congratulating themselves, and you know, but they feel like an imposter because you're only as good as your last idea, and your big fear is, am I out of ideas? That became my identity. Well, partner embezzlement. And then I move out here and another partner screws me. And I'm like, I must be a real loser. And I'm in not the mecca of advertising. I'm not in New York, and I didn't want to live in New York, even though my mentor was a big shot in New York. I'm in a backwater called Charlotte, North Carolina, at least a backwater from the creative world. Right. What do? I go work for a freaking bank. Oh, well, I'm thinking I am completely off the rails, and I'm in a Fortune 100 bank. And I'm thinking I've got to get back to what I'm good at, but I have to make it. You know, I didn't even know how to type. I was doing Mavis Beacon teaches typing, doing asteroids with letters at night, you know, because I'm getting 100 emails a day and I can't handpeck my way out of it. And, you know, but I can't, like, yeah, HR like knows that I don't have a degree because, and the top guy wants me in. So they kind of circumvent HR. Well, the same thing happens when I go to Bank of America. It was Nations Bank at the time. I get handpicked and selected to come over there for a MacGyver role. That's where the MacGyver comes from, because they're like, hey, we need you to figure out why this acquisition is off the rails. We think it's this, but like, you're from the Midwest, you're known for figuring stuff out, and it's a communication issue, we think, not sure. So I'm among people, my peers went to Yale, you know, the masters from Northwestern, you know, like, and here I am 2-year at Kansas State and I'm dropped out and I'm a senior VP there. Like, I didn't know anybody that way. So I had to be very quiet. And that's not necessarily my MO anyway, but like, so you're just suffering in embarrassment and quietness, you know, because like, and then, you know, I was managing multi, like tens of millions of dollars in ad spend. And I'm getting recruiter calls from various places. And I'll never forget, I get a call, I think it was from Pfizer. And they loved my background and whatever, but they're like, hey, we're not sure about your education background. You said 1982, but we don't see a degree. And I said, yeah, I dropped out. And they're like, oh, well, interview over. Really? Interview over. Well, thank God. I would hate to work for a pharmaceutical company. Like, I would hate it. But, you know, I was thinking, you know, again, that whole comparing myself with my peers, well, I didn't stack up. It's an unfair fight, you know, and a lot of what I found is we will compare ourselves with other people, and like the best visual I've experienced is like, think of a 1-inch circle and it says what I know. And then it's surrounded by a 5-foot circle. And in that 5-foot circle, it says what I think everyone else knows.
Right.
Unfair fight. And what we're doing is,
what is
comparing.
that? That's the, what do you call that? Dunning-Kruger. Well, the reverse of Dunning-Kruger. If you actually look and read about it,
the reverse of Dunning-Kruger.
They cover both sides of that, right? That a lot of highly intelligent people have this perception that everybody around them, just as you said, I know this and everybody around me knows this, and it's not true. Actually not the reality of it, right?
It's not true. We compare our behind the scenes reels that haunt us. Oh gosh, I hope that never gets published, or hope that never makes it to the internet, or whatever. We'll hide that stuff. But then we're comparing that with the show reels and the carefully curated Instagram, you know, posts of other people. It's not a fair fight, you know, and it's ridiculous. You fail to celebrate your uniqueness. You fail to celebrate how you were given a unique set of DNA, a unique thumbprint that nobody else has ever had and no one else ever will. Celebrate that. Right. And it just took me way too long to figure that out, but I'm glad I finally did, you know, again, getting beaten up.
So you were 2 years in. I was probably, I guess I was maybe 2 or 3 years in, and then I fell in love, wanted to get married, need to get a job. Yeah. And so I never actually formally dropped out. I kept taking classes, and then eventually I was in a good paying job for at the time it was good paying, at least I thought it was. Yeah. And I got some training, and I was working with a guy that didn't have a degree. And what was really, I guess, impactful for me was he had gotten a call from some big firm, wanted to hire him, got through the interview, gave him the offer, and then he get a call from the hiring manager. He's like, oh, by the way, where'd you go to school? We just got this one little detail we need to take care of. And he's like, I didn't. Yeah. And he's like, he goes, no, you're kidding me, right? And he goes, no, I'm not kidding you. And this guy, like, they wanted to hire him bad. And it was a company policy. He's like, he goes, dude, I can't push this through. And that was very impactful for me in the perspective.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, oh my God, here's somebody that wants to hire you. They want to hire you.
Yep.
And they can't get it through because some stupid company policy, everybody has to have a degree. And that's when I buckled down and I got like I only had like 3 or 4 classes left. And so I buckled down and got them done. And so I finally got it. And to me, it's still kind of, just so you know, from a guy that's got a piece of paper, I still look at that and go, is that real? Did I really get that?
Well, what's funny is now, because I was on a stage with a guy that was making millions of dollars off of freaking TikTok, and it was like embarrassing, but he thought like his poop didn't stink. He thought he had an entourage, and I'm thinking, you're 20 something, early 20s, and you're embarrassing yourself on a public, like stupid pranks, embarrassingly bad, but making millions of dollars. You did not have that opportunity back in the 80s and 90s. Like, it was about your pedigree, and it was about where you went to school, and you, at the bare minimum, for you to get in, like all of my jobs from after that first job as a designer were bachelor's required and master's preferred.
Right.
Every job. And so I was always playing cat and mouse with HR. You know, somebody was dragging me into,
rat you out.
Well, yeah, and it's like, well, they were dragging me into a situation like, okay, and they basically made HR rubber stamp it. I knew it and I felt it at Bank of America. It was a MacGyver role, and I actually did a good job at it. Best boss I've ever had. And she would often say, Gary, we believe in you more than you do. Oh, dang. But I still couldn't believe it because I was still comparing myself with the Yale and the Northwestern MBAs, you know. And it's just such a trap because what I didn't even know this term imposter syndrome until probably 4 or 5 years ago. But I suffered from it from the time I was 10 years old. And ironically, in 1972, that's when that term got coined by these 2 female psychiatrists or psychologists that saw these common traits happening among high achieving female clients of theirs, which they were plagued by thoughts of insecurity. I'm not good enough. If people just knew this or that about me, they'd reject me, etc. Oh, I just got lucky. I just, like for their success, it'll find me out, J-Lo. I mean, it's funny. Some of these stars that have it. And I really do see it in the arts. And I've got professional musicians in our family in Nashville, and they are in those circles, and it runs rampant, because, it's like, you think, well, I'm as good as that last album. I'm as good as that last piece that I did or whatever. And it's so performance oriented, especially if you're in a performing arts kind of thing. But now we've got possibilities. And I think you have people that realize, well, wait a minute, it wasn't the degree, and there's more acceptance of talent and character than just checking the box. Now, you still governmental jobs or whatever, a lot of them are still going to go, you got to hit this thing, okay. But maybe that's not it. And entrepreneurism makes a way where it's like, screw those credentials. I've got an idea and I'm going to bet on myself. Okay. There's just more acceptance of that. And you're seeing a lot of successful people, what's success, right? But people that have done well, built companies, et cetera, that didn't have, and I think about Philip, like literally living in a tent and picking up trash and growing an 8-figure business, with hundreds of employees. It's pretty incredible.
So what would be your message though to, one of the things I find in my little circle of friends is my background's in IT, and right now in 2026, I don't know that degrees are really a obstacle.
Yeah.
Yet if you're over 50 and got gray hair, even though you've got that degree,
oh, it's real.
I have some buddies that are sending out resumes left and right. They can't get hired. They can't even make half of what they were making back in the 90s.
No.
And so,
yeah,
I think they're struggling a little bit with maybe some imposter syndrome when it comes to the AI and what they can do. Obviously, it's just odd because, I don't know what your knowledge of programming is. You probably have a little bit. And programming is just logic. And if you understand queries and SQL and logic, taking that and applying AI to it is really not a big jump. Yet these guys, they can't get hired.
Well, what I found is I've had to be scrappy and I've had to reinvent myself. I mean, what the heck am I doing as a partner in a CPA firm? I mean, it's hilarious.
Right.
And, starting a podcast on our own, even apart from the firm, but I was 100% commission. Like I brought my coaching practice into this place, went on 100% commission because every other, business development person had failed in this company. But I was willing to bet on myself because I saw differentiation with this group, like massive differentiation. And that as a marketer is what you look for. That's nirvana because then you can exploit that. You're not in the sea of sameness trying to beat everybody else in features and benefits or price. And so I can't believe how happy I am and how much fun I'm having, but I've had the blessing of having to reinvent myself. I mean, when I was 53, so I'm 63 now, almost 64. When I came back to town, I had run 4 companies. I had been in 2 Fortune 100 companies. I was 53, a white guy without a degree. Well, none of those things actually are things that people are looking for. And you'd go, well, yeah, but you've run 4 companies. That's actually a strike against you unless you are part of a portfolio, like a private equity group that is looking for somebody with that specific thing. And they're usually looking for somebody that's got an advanced degree from a known place that you've been in their circles. So that's a really tough place to break in, even though I had worked in private equity. And I'm like, I just have to be scrappy, bring value. Now, one thing that I've seen is if you come with batteries installed where you don't have to be wound up and told and pointed in the direction of what to do. And now what, boss? If you can actually figure out and solve problems and address them before you have to raise the flag hey, here's a problem. Yeah, what are you going to do about it? If you can come with solutions and you play well with others, you have a massive, and if you have a work ethic, oh my goodness, I did not know how lacking that is in the marketplace. Well, and so what I would say is my resume was getting rejected already by a lot of the automaton, sifting, programs out there.
Yeah, now it's even worse, right?
Now it's really bad.
Now it's really bad.
Really bad. So forget about it. it was developing relationships with people, solving problems and helping them with no strings. That has served me extremely well. But yeah, it can be a long and lonely road, but you got to figure out like, how do I, and that's like the second weapon in my book is called Thrive With Her. And it's about, it's a T chart. It's not about your strengths and weaknesses. It's about what makes you come alive versus what drains your tank. And if you can really get serious about the stuff that makes you come alive, there you go. The Thrive With Her exercise. And it's a really bonehead simple thing. I mean, I had to do it when I had to leave my own firm, like, at whopping, what was I, 33, something like that, 32. At least I had enough sense to know, like, all right, where do I bring value? What do I love to do? What do I not love to do? Because if you are doing stuff that you're good at, but you're not creating joy and you're not energized by it,
it's like it's the struggle every day. Yes, it will. I mean,
and you will not you can't overcome it. You can make it through the first pay cycle or so, but you can't fake it till you make it forever. It'll take you down. There's a part of that I get, when we're doing something new, you don't necessarily have to let everybody know, hey, this is my first time doing it, like doing television commercials. I remember thinking like, this is my first time doing this. But they're hiring me as if I know what I'm doing. So you just do your best, right? So there's not necessarily a time, for the surgeon to announce before you go under general anesthesia, oh, by the way, this is my first
one. But at the same time, I feel like, a guy like you, a guy like me, it's going to just give it your all, give it your best. You're probably going to be better than average. I mean, what's been your experience in those scenarios where you're going in first time ever doing anything?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's by somebody drawing you into it, and like you just got to do it. Like the need is there, and if you focus, this is where weapon number 4 comes in. That's so powerful. Focus more on serving somebody than how they are perceiving you. If we focus on the task at hand and serving somebody, we are getting our eyes off of ourselves and our own inadequacies. That's a huge one. And so I resort many, many times to that. Like just focus. It doesn't matter. And yeah, we all want to be perceived well and all that, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, what somebody thinks. Like, did I give it my best? Am I
right? I feel like, and maybe that was a good lesson I learned from my mother, because my mother was always striving to do better. And she's like, I compete with myself. I'm not comparing myself to somebody else. I'm trying to beat myself. I know where my bar is, and I want to go next level up and keep upgrading.
That's some great wisdom from your mom. That's some great wisdom and awareness, I think. I think we'd all be better off if we focused on that. And
I remember I had a coach one time, and he was giving me crap about Strava. And he's like, why do you do that Strava? Like, what does that matter? Why do you waste your time? You're not going to be in cyclist. So he's like, you're not going to be in the Tour de France. I'm like, no, dude, you're not. And this guy's a coach. I'm like, you're not getting it. I just want to better myself. He goes, there's going to come a point where you can't better yourself. And I'll go, so fine. I'll see how close I can keep up with my PRs, whatever.
Well, exactly. I mean, I loved Jack LaLanne. He was silly, early on, doing the chair 1 and 2 and with the stretchy pants and all that. But the dude, if you read about him, I think it was on his 80th birthday or something like that. He's pulling, I can't remember how many boats in the bay in San Francisco, shackled with his arms, with his hands and his feet shackled, and he's swimming, pulling boats with his teeth. Well, he wasn't able to do as much as he could when he was 50 probably, or even 40. But dude, like it's pretty amazing. So yeah. So at what point, and I look at Moses was 80 years old when he finally came into his real calling. Hey, he delivered one person from an Egyptian and killed somebody, and he has to flee into the wilderness. And by the way, shepherds were the most vilely disregarded profession in the Egyptian culture at the time. And he was raised in Pharaoh's house. Like, it doesn't get any higher than that. And he gets to the point at 80 where he has no confidence in his ability to speak. And yet he's supposed to go and tell the Pharaoh, hey, let my people go. Well, wait a minute. So he is so ground down by that point. He's like, hey, God, how about Aaron? Like, I can't talk. And I felt that way many times too. Like, who am I? But he came into his calling at age 80. And then he had 40 years of leading millions of people in some really tough circumstances, and some people that were extremely ungrateful. And in some ways, like, hey, you got a reason, like there's no water. I can understand why they'd be a little upset. Hey, there's no food. I could understand why they'd be a little upset. They had seen amazing things, but yet this guy really, like, he was a man's man. By the way, he at 120 when he died, it said his eyes had not dimmed and his strength had not abated. Oh, that's pretty amazing. But I draw strength from people like that. Now, Gary, you going to live to 120? I don't know. I mean, each day is a gift, right?
Absolutely.
But I want to live all in. Like, I've got a good buddy that is a pastor of a really big church, and he got really screwed over by his elders. But he's a man of integrity, and he played for Dean Smith at UNC Chapel Hill. And I saw him at the track where I go work out, and he pulls me aside. He goes, Gary, I've been thinking about it, and I don't want to rust out. I'm going to flame out. And he's in his mid 70s. He goes, I don't think retirement is in the vocabulary. Like, I want to flame out. And I'm like, man, that's the way I want to live. That's exactly
I'm the same way. I don't have a pension or anything, but I'm not stressed over it because I don't either. I don't know what would I do. And kind of back, you were talking about, I guess his name was Phil, was it, that you worked with?
Oh yeah. Philip.
Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do when you sell this? Like, how are you going to occupy your day? And I totally agree with that. It's just, it's not, and that's part of the reason why I started this. This is kind of my answer to that.
People's stories are cool. Everybody has a story.
And most stories actually never get out and get heard. And I thought this was a cool way to do it and record it. I mean, I think 193 followers, and I've actually had some people come to me and go, why you bother? I'm like, 193 subscribers, and I get like, maybe, I don't know, I think is over 100 views sometimes. I'm like, I guess for me, I go, imagine stepping into the auditorium at the local public library, and it can hold 200 people, and it's 3/4 full. And you can stand in front and tell your story to them.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's pretty amazing. And for those that only get 10 or 20 views, imagine going to a Starbucks and having a little public meetup at a Starbucks and attracting 15 or 20 people and being able to speak to them. I go, these numbers are actually pretty large. They're not small. I'm not, maybe someday there'll be 1 million. I don't know. Who knows? Don't really care. To me, in my opinion, I've already been successful in what I've already achieved, and it's not very much. And it wasn't, it's been some effort, but it's, the
Roadcaster 2 isn't free. They don't give those things away. We got one in our studio too. They don't give them away.
No, they don't. But oh my God, does that level the playing field?
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool.
between that and then we're playing around with the script and with Riverside, and that may actually even streamline things a bit more as well. But I was just curious, I know you do this coaching and how, like, you've kind of referenced it a little bit already just with your own story. I mean, you're a partner in a CPA firm, yet you have this podcast and you have this coaching business.
Yeah.
How do you build a business that works, not only for the business, but works for like for you and make that happen? Yeah. How do you
Well, I think you got to start with your thrive with her,
The thrive with her. Back to that.
What do you love to do? And, because I was 100% commission, hey, if I don't bring in sales, I don't eat. And if I bring in too much and they can't pay me, which that's happened because they're like, we don't have the money to pay you. Like, okay, then put it on my tab, owe me at some point, whatever. But like, I'm in purpose, man. I love what I do. I have a huge passion for privately held businesses and their owners and entrepreneurs, because having worked in publicly traded companies and having run companies where even in this firm where as owners, we went without paying ourselves so that we could make payroll more than once. As you're growing, you're stuck in cash. Too. Like that's just how it works.
It's tough. Yeah.
And, you have to explain to your spouse, like, we are not paying ourselves right now. We will, Lord willing. But, but if you're in purpose and you're not defining yourself by what you do, but really like playing in what you love to do and serving people and getting your eyes off of yourself, I mean, man, that's a great life. And so that uniqueness, and it was lonely too coming in here because, it's like, who's this dude? All the other guys that were supposed to bring in sales didn't. So I guess we'll give him a few months and then he'll be out too. Well, it didn't happen. But I knew, like,
what was your secret there? I'm curious. How'd you make it rain?
The same thing that I've always done, live to serve people first, freely, without trying to sell them something. I saw differentiation here. I saw these guys. So now we're about just under 90 people. 14 of us have started, run, or turned around companies with our money. That is so atypical. It's not even funny. You will not find that in a CPA firm because of the people that are drawn to it. They're high S, high C people in the DISC profile, introverts more than extroverts. They start at the bottom, kind of sift their way up, and then, hey, you get to buy in as a partner. Now you got to go sell, and now you can see blue sky because you're no longer in the bowels of the ship. That is not the same as when you go and risk it and you put your money on the line and you're paying everybody else before you pay yourself. That's a way different thing. I saw that difference here. So I'm like, dude, I got to know these guys for a year before I came in here, and I was coaching full time, but coaching is very lonely. So I'm like, hey, what if I bring in my coaching thing and I run biz dev for you because nobody knows who you guys are. Oh, well,
obscurity.
Right. And so I see patterns, I see opportunities, I see problems. Problem is nobody knows who you are, but you're really good. So, to your friends that are sending out umpteen resumes, and I've done that, and I never got hired from any of those. Go out and meet with people. Hear their stories. Let them know what you're looking to do. Or raise awareness. But that's really what I've done. And so listen, think about this. So I start in June of 2019, June 3rd to be exact. We go into lockdown in March. March the 13th was the last day of 2020. And I was trying to meet with somebody 5 times a day. That was my goal. 5 times a day, meet with somebody. Just, let them raise awareness, not ask them, hey, bring your stuff over here and let us do your taxes and everything else. No, it's just like, hey, help me understand what's going on. Cause I know that the bar is extremely low in our industry. Like people, because they're more introverted than not, they don't respond well. They don't return phone calls. They aren't proactive. They aren't bringing amazing advice. We find multiples of our fees. So ROI is a big language for us. Like, did we bring a return on investment or not? And if not, and if we're not the right fit, I'll send you to somebody and I don't get a dime back for the referral, but I want you to be taken care of. I don't want you to spend the night in the public square and hope that you don't get, bad things happening to you. I'm like, all right, I'll take care of you. Serving, it's a long haul.
Oh, it's long tail, right? It's not going to be overnight. Yes. But
it builds. And when you serve them well and you own your mistakes and you really have their best interest in mind, it happens. Like it happens. And so that's what's happened here. And it's given me, and I probably work more hours than anybody else in this company. Why? Well, my kids are grown and my grandkids aren't in the same town and my wife is okay with it. But like, I'm writing every day. I spend a couple hours a day just reacting and commenting on LinkedIn and writing and doing stupid cold plunge musings and, playing around with AI and doing Tattoo Tuesdays from a dyslexic tattooist, like what does that have to do with accounting? Nothing. But I thought, man, I gotta explore AI. So I've done vibe coding. I created an app that was going to cost us $50,000 minimum. I got 50 to 100 grand for a sales activity tracker that we had used before. And then it got mothballed. We couldn't buy it. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to recreate it. And we've got 18 AI people in our company as part of Ascend, but they're boiling the ocean. And, I don't have time for them to get to my little project. So I'm going to figure it out. And I go to people that know what the heck they're doing, get their advice, and I start building, like bring value. That's really what I want to do is I want to bring value. And like, I can't wait to wake up every morning. I can't wait to go see my people and go do my thing. And I'm not trying to be like one of them. I don't want to be an accountant. I'd be terrible at it. I've had good ones, but I've had bad ones. I'm like,
well, I feel like that approach is really strong in the sense that, if you actually get down to sales 101, right? I don't know how many times I've heard this. People buy from people that they know, like, and trust.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not about people trying to, did you hear anything in that? It says they buy from people they try to sell them.
No.
It's not in that list of things.
No, it's not.
I know for a fact that I've been hired to do photography when I was probably not the best person to do it. And I even tried to refer them out to a friend of mine for this particular photography type style. And they're like, nope, I want to hire you. I'm like, are you sure? Here's this person's website. Go take a look at their portfolio. It's probably better than mine because I don't even have a portfolio to show you on what you want. And they have dozens of photos that are amazing. And nope, I want to hire you. And why did they want to hire me? Because they know, like, and trust me. And Exactly. Did I deliver for them? I did. Did I do as good as this other person? Honestly, probably not. But, they were happy. And I mean, you know how it is with design and creative. There's a certain bar you got to hit. Yeah. And I'm hitting the bar. I'm probably going above the bar. So it's okay. And that's part of that imposter syndrome too, right? Are you at least meeting the bar of expectation in the commercial world? And that's at least what I tell myself. I do headshot photography. Am I the best headshot photographer in the world? No, by a long shot. Am I right there, up there? And, there's the amateurs are down here. Then there's people that are formally trained photographers here. There's people that have been actually trained and took some classes on how to do headshot photography. They're probably there. And that's kind of where I'm at. Then there's the guy that practice a lot more than me, and they're here. And there's the guys that are, the best in the country or world are up here. And I'm like right here. Whereas, if you took a selfie, you're going to be down here. So, just by nature of my experience and education, I'm going to meet the bar. Yeah. I think it took me a long time to get that through my head. It was a really tough thing. Your book actually helped with that too. I think it really, and it actually even goes back to this even, and I'm glad you wrote the book, because to me, writing the book means you actually really believe it. Because how many books address this that are out there? Probably a few. I didn't
see one, which is why I wrote it. It actually, the reason I wrote it was a woman I was coaching who had 10,000 employees said, Gary, I don't know what I'm doing. And she is a good CEO. She's one of only 2 people I name by name in that book, Tana Green. But I said, Tana, I think this is imposter syndrome. She goes, yeah, you're right. But I said, well, why would you say that? She said, I only have a 2-year secretarial degree.
Yeah, you totally related to that.
Yeah, totally. And at least she had a degree. I didn't even have a secretarial degree. I had just 2 years of college.
Yeah, you didn't have an actual degree. You just had the credits towards the degree.
So, a lot of people deal with it.
So you wrote this book. We mentioned it a few times. I'll put a link to it. It's on Amazon, right?
Yep. That's the only place you can find it.
That's where you can get it. So I'll put that down in the description. And then I do have a sponsor now. It's
awesome.
My wife's going to start a business. So it was a really hard sell. It's called Maya Soap. So this episode is supported by Maya Soap, a company that my wife is in the very early stages of launching. We have the domain. If you go there, there's nothing there yet. It's built the idea around that simple, well-made things still matter. We're offering a limited number of complimentary bars to people that engage directly to conversation. There's no form to fill out. There's only one way to get it. We'll put an address. You have to send me a postcard. Yeah, I know. I'm making it sticky.
I think
but you're going to have to want it. You're going to have to want it, and I like getting mail. So there you go. If you liked Gary's perspective, if that resonated with you and want to learn more about his work, you can find him on, am I getting this right? bgw.cpa?
No, it's trustbgw.com. So
trustbgw. Oh, say it one more time.
Yeah, trustbgw.com.
And also through the Anything But Typical podcast, which you can see there. Right. And this conversation was valuable to you. Please like, comment, subscribe, share it with somebody that would appreciate it. Go ahead and reach out to Gary at Anything is Typical. I'm sure you'll like his episodes. I've watched a few. They've been very informative, and it helps the show reach the right people. And yes, I do read the comments. Gary, I want to thank you. Really appreciate your time today. And
thanks, man.
This was a lot of fun, and then hopefully it was a little bit different than other podcasts you've been on.
Yeah, this was fun, man. Kurt, it was great meeting you on LinkedIn actually years ago. And thanks for having me on this thing. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Maybe you can invite me over to the Anything But Typical. I still like to stop by in person sometime. And I still have this idea. I still have this idea of a cold plunge, a dual cold plunge situation. I don't know if I'm doing 33 degrees though, Gary. I'm not sure about that one.
Comparison kills gratitude. Just remember that, Kurt.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Gary. Really appreciate you.
Buddy.
All right. Bye-bye.
Get to your...